Well, a good Saturday to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist John Dawson. This is our tropical update, getting you caught up, getting you following everything going on in the Atlantic Basin. And we are expecting to continue to be busy for the rest of the season. So all eyes have been on Ernesto as of late, as we've seen this hurricane making its way through the Atlantic. I will pause for just a moment for those folks who are here close to me in Houston. Our forecast isn't changing much. Just a little spoiler alert there. We are dealing with a lot of August heat. That dome or that ridge of high pressure helping to protect us should anything try to develop in the Gulf of Mexico, but certainly has been very quiet. As I mentioned, Ernesto is where everybody's attention has been, and it's been having some minor effects with some higher swells and a little bit of the rip current threats and things like that happening on the East Coast. But it's Bermuda that has been most concerned with Ernesto because things got very much more organized as far as a path headed toward Bermuda. And as a matter of fact, officially the National Hurricane Center giving Ernesto a landfall on Bermuda Island, that occurring at around 3:30 in the morning on Saturday. That's Central Time. So Central Time, around 3:30 in the morning, Ernesto made landfall, meaning that the eye, the very center of that storm, moved across the west coast of Bermuda and making a landfall. And now at this point, though, we see this storm pulling away and moving away from Bermuda. Still some dangerous situations happening there where in Bermuda, again, now south of the center, but we still have a lot of the rain and some of the winds and some of the storm surge issues all happening for the island of Bermuda. So the maximum sustained winds right now are about 75 miles an hour. I think they were about 80 miles an hour at landfall. So that was a Category 1 hurricane. Pressure still holding there around 976. The movement has really slowed down. So that's why it's not so great right now on Bermuda, because they're having more time to get more of the rain from the backside and the winds that are occurring. And we'll see this on the forecast track continuing to move away. Notice how for the next several hours, this movement continues to crawl. But once we get into Sunday morning, we'll see this pick back up with its speed once again, accelerating somewhat to the north, a little bit to the northeast, and we'll see again a much quicker movement because this movement itself will accelerate. Still should maintain that hurricane strength all the way through Sunday and into Monday morning, but after that we begin to see things fall apart quite quickly, and we'll see that that will not maintain its hurricane strength, probably maintaining its tropical characteristics into Tuesday, but again, not at hurricane strength. So we'll see how those impacts go for the rest of the Atlantic. So quick reminder, again, we're talking about having a very active year, and we've been a little bit slow to start from what we've kind of looked at with the forecast wise, but you can see that we're really just now getting into where we would see the peak of the activity with the end of August headed into September. Again, this represents the entire Atlantic Basin. Depending on where you are specifically, this would shift a little bit somewhat, but overall this is what we're looking at for the entire basin. So we'll continue to look for those numbers to increase somewhat. Keeping score at home, Ernesto did reach Category 2 strength, and that is the latest storm that we have going right now. We'll see Francine next up on the list, and at the moment we don't have anything specific that we're watching closely, but I do just want to remind you of these formation zones. Typically, if you looked at our data, this goes back to 1944, so this isn't as like some of our records weather-wise go all the way back to 1850, where we just haven't had as much time without satellites to really note as much of what's going on in the Atlantic. So anyway, these records going back to 1944 up into 2020, this is where we would normally see named storms begin to form. And it's right out in the Atlantic, right to the east of the Caribbean and fairly low to the south. We definitely can see also along the east coast storms that are also forming. But as far as the formation goes, we see a little less overall activity happening in the Gulf of Mexico. Certainly possible, but again, comparatively speaking, that's not where the hot zone is. But we could certainly see things form in the Atlantic when we get into the end of August. But this is typically where we see it. And so watching right now, what would normally happen is we get these storms rolling off the African coast and they roll through, slowly getting more organized. And then when they get to that area just to the east of the Caribbean, they form, they get those tropical characteristics. There is a little bit of activity happening back here, but it's nothing that's just yelling at the moment. I'm next, coming down the pipe. So we'll continue to keep an eye. I think within the next several days, we will begin to have a little bit more of a focus to look at. But at the moment, it's all about Ernesto still as far as activity and potential activity. We'll continue to track that, continue to keep you updated, and continue to remind you preparation is the key. Make sure you're continuing to think about what your needs are to be ready for hurricane season. My hurricane gear test is a great way to do that. If you're on YouTube already, just search meteorologist John Dawson and you can find my channel, which has all of my hurricane gear tests laid out there for you. Easy way to kind of go through and think about some of your preparations. We're here every day of hurricane season with this tropical update. So I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, a little bit after 4 p.m. Central Time. I hope to see you then.